welcome back to a playoff edition of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV as we're getting ready to cover some big-time teams. We have 6 teams in Riverside that have made the CIF playoffs, and we're going to get and delve into a little bit of every single one of those games coming up this Friday. But first, let's be joined by my man in the booth, my partner in crime, the great Ghazal Hassan. How you doing today, Ghazal?
It is playoff time, and it is Halloween time. Should I do the show in character as Vincent Price? Would anybody know who Vincent Price is anymore?
I sure as heck do. He was the host of Monster Rally, my friend, one of the greatest weekend shows ever until Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, showed up when I was about 12 or 13, and that changed everything.
In more ways than one. It's a spooky playoff edition. Of course, I will forever remember Vincent Price for playing Egghead on the old Batman series, which is available. If you can go online, you can actually find it streaming. It is fantastic. The great Cesar Romero is the Joker, Burt Ward and Adam West. Adam West is Batman, obviously, and then the great Vincent Price as the villain Egghead, who I don't think was ever in a Batman comic. I think he was strictly made up for TV, Jeff. But we have playoff football to talk about. I'm sorry.
Well, let's talk about that egghead of yours, the brain and brawn. Hey, let's talk before we get going about these games going on. What was your biggest surprise this year from the draws that everybody talked about?
Yeah, there weren't a lot of surprises. I mean, I had a couple of things wrong. So it starts in Division I because they said all along it was going to be either 10 or 12 teams in Division I. So I said, okay. The reason they're doing that is they're going to put all 6 Trinity Elite teams in. When it was revealed that there were only going to be 8 teams in Division I figured, okay, so now what they're going to do is they'll leave one team out. So I did a little bit of math, in my head, and I said, well, Servite beat Santa Margarita, so they'll leave out Santa Margarita and keep Servite. As it turned out, they kept both teams, so that kind of threw my rankings off a little bit. I also had Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame in, who didn't make the final field, and there was one other team. But here's the biggest surprise to me is I did, I think, 4 projections. In every projection, I had your friend Ken Backdorf and Norda Vista in Division 5, and the committee bumped them up to Division 4. Now, they're barely in Division 4, which I think is really unfair to the Braves, but it is what it is. They're the 16 seed in Division 4. And they will play Loyola in the first round. That was a bit of a surprise to me. Everything else, Poly surprised me a little bit, not because they were in, but because they won. And it was no disrespect to Poly. I really thought, and you and I talked about this all year, I thought Jerron Gilbert did a tremendous job at Poly. And remember, they were in a bunch of close games, right? So they're 4-6. They could easily be like 6-4, 7-3. But I said, okay, he's got the foundation in place, and they'll have a big year next year. But no, they go and they beat a very good Vista Del Lago team. Excuse me. Now they're kind of a live dog, Jeff, in that Division 11.
Now, talking about, there was another upset I thought, or another travesty I thought was the Roosevelt team didn't get in. Everybody was talking about Roosevelt getting in. They did not get in. And there were a couple goofy little 2-8 teams, 3-7 teams that got in. So a little bit of heartache for the guys down over at Roosevelt, a lot like what happened last year with Kaiser not making the playoffs.
I had Roosevelt in all 4 of my projections. I thought they should have been in. What happened was the committee let Charter Oak in, who was 2-8. Now, to be fair to Charter Oak, they did play a pretty tough schedule, and I think it was a coin flip because I would have put Roosevelt in, but I'll acknowledge, I kind of have that inland bias. Charter Oak, which is the alma mater of former UCI basketball great Jeff Von Litzow, they were 2-8. They finished 3rd in a 14 league. See, those 14 pods, I think, really threw things off this year. I would have put Roosevelt in over Charter Oak. No disrespect to Charter Oak. They're a fine school and a fine program, but I thought Roosevelt should have gotten in.
Let's talk about the 2 games we have here on Riverside TV this week. First off, let's talk about Martin Luther King playing against Lakewood. What are your thoughts on that pivotal game?
I think they're a live dog on the road here. I think they're going to be a tough assignment for King. It's going to really come down to strategy. And, obviously the talent is out there for King. Can Jason McMains find that extra wrinkle? It's going to be a tough one for them. It'll be rough and tumble. But is it a winnable game for the Wolves? Of course it is. I think they're a very good squad. And remember, they lost that final game to Murrieta Mesa. And although Murrieta Mesa's record only 4-6, keep in mind, I think the teams they played, they started off 0-5. The teams they played over the first 5 weeks had a combined record of 21-4. So, Oscar McBride does a great job over there. He went out and played a super tough schedule. They're going to be really good. I think King, they get the first game at home. It won't be easy, but they should advance. I see them advancing into the second round, but they make too many mistakes or sleep on Lakewood. Lakewood could easily come up victorious.
Well, let's talk about our next game, the big one, my Ramona Rams versus my friend over at San Gorgonio, Chris Chaddock. That's going to be a pretty darn good game. I'm a little surprised, though, that Sanji did not get a home game to start this playoffs.
Chaddock's still coaching? No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking because I see him in the window there waiting to come on. No, hey, man, and I know you're friendly with Coach Chaddock, and I don't want to come across, but what a fantastic job. He did a great job at Indian Springs and a tremendous job at San Gorgonio. I mean, 9-1, 5-0. And again, they're one of those live dog teams. They could easily go on a run. They got a lot of speed. They play really good defense. They're well coached. He's got, I think, 3 or 4 former head coaches on the staff. And I go back to what Coach Chaddock did at Indian Springs, which I thought was fantastic. He came in. I don't think that team had made the playoffs since they started playing varsity football. Not only did he get them to they might have made it once, I off the top of my head, but not only did he get them to the playoffs, he got a playoff win there, the first playoff win in school history. That says something, and it says something about the culture he installed there. And he's such a proud guy because he's a San G graduate, and he really wants his alma mater to do well. And I think it's going to be a clash. I love Ramona. I love what Coach Mashinsky's doing at Ramona. This is going to be a great inland game. I'm so happy we're covering it. Riverside County, San Bernardino County, 2 really good teams. Let's get at it. Let's have some fun on Friday.
Well, I'll tell you what, we are going to be covering all sorts of playoff games as long as the Riverside teams stay alive. We have 3 on the road, 3 at home. You have CSDR playing at home. You have Poly playing on the road, and everybody else here in Riverside. We're going to have a great Friday night. You and I will be on the call Friday night for Ramona versus San G. Playoffs! We will be on the call for that game, and as always, thank you for joining us, Gazal, today, and we'll see you Friday night. And we are back here on the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV, and we're now joined by one of my oldest nemesises, the great Chris Chaddock, the head coach of San G, the Spartans. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm great. We're in the playoffs, so playoff football is in the air. It's always the best. Always the best. And I'm assuming you're going to pick against us because it wouldn't be playoff football if you didn't. Especially since we're playing your alma mater. There's no way you can pick against. You can pick root for us.
Well, you know the drill, my friend. You were coaching at San G under Ron Garinger. The last time you guys won a CIF championship, you were going against Norte Vista. And I picked you guys to lose every single game. That's kind of what started the Salty G and Chris Chaddock relationship, but it has blossomed into something lovely. But I am going to say this. I'm always a Ram at heart. I always go horns up, but you are a pal of mine and a good friend. Hey, how great is this? You're playing playoff football, Riverside versus San Bernardino.
Oh, man, that's where it's at. That's what you want. It makes the game have a little more intrigue. County clash, gotta love it. We do it for the Dino. They're doing it for the Riv. It's just good times. It's really awesome. And we haven't been back in the playoffs since 2019, so it's really good to get the alma mater back on the map. We're very, very, very excited about it.
Now, Coach, you're a league champion. You're 9-1. Tell Riverside about your team. Tell us some of your playmakers and what kind of style of football you like to play.
Well, we try to have a real balanced attack on offense. Coach Gary Edlin, just a great play caller, great man. His sons and my son, the very, very good friends, are always running around. So it's always cool to coach with your friends. Gary runs a very balanced attack. A great Peyton Clark playing quarterback. Kind of a Tom Brady type, mobile quarterback. It's a classic drop back quarterback. He's not going to run around, but he'll kill you with his IQ, kill you with his arm. We got a couple shifty running backs. We got 3 running backs that can all take it to the house if they need to. And we spread the wealth offensively. We've got 4 wide receivers. We've got, Dylan Carolina is our stud running back, but the receivers we've got Daron Tyson. We have Francisco Morales. We have Jaden Clark and Javen Sawyer. And then we actually have a little refrigerator, Ukaipa J, Jacob Whitmore. The wealth is evenly distributed amongst them. They all have between 500 and 300 yards receiving. We have one playmaker at every level of the line. We have a defensive end that's got close to 70 tackles and 5 sacks. We've got a couple stud linebackers that are right around 100 tackles each. We've got a pretty good back end. The defensive end, Adrian Favela, and then we've got a kid I specifically learned Spanish for, our other defensive end. We call him Dereche, because he didn't know the right from his left until I started learning Spanish. So Dereche, dos capos, Albert Lara, our defensive end, and we've got a couple stud middle linebackers and that are both sophomores, and John Rubio and 3, John Rubio, Rashawn Holmes, and Anthony Rucker. And I really love Javen Sawyer and Zion Clark on the back end. So we've got some dudes, and I'm really intrigued by this matchup because they got some size up there, man. They got some big beef eaters up on that line, so it's going to be a really interesting matchup. And Coach, Coach Mush, he always has his guys ready. His teams are always very disciplined, very focused, very classy. They just do great things. So it's just he's done an amazing job over there. He's almost had Ramona to a championship win there. Furthest I've made it as a head coach is semis. Got the ring as an assistant, but just never as a head coach. And Mush is right there, so it's I have nothing but respect for him and all he's done for that program. Bringing your Rams back to glory after close to a decade of downtroddeness. I respect the heck out of that, man.
Well, Chris, that's I have to agree 100% with you about Coach Mush. Great, he's done a great job since he's been at Ramona. But my last question to pose to you before I let you go is, how fun is it coaching at your alma mater, and you turned it around so quickly?
Oh, it's the best. Well, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like Cheers. Everybody knows your name kind of thing. You have great support, more support than I've ever had at any other school. Because I graduated from here, played here. My athletic director was my physics teacher, ASB teacher in high school. So he's watched me grow up. He's known me since I was 15 years old. I'm 43 now. So he's known me for nearly 3 decades. That means something. Just doing it for my city. I'm a San Bernardino guy through and through. I say it all the time. Dino born, Dino bred. I love the Dino till I'm dead. There's not many more guys that are more San Bernardino than me, and I'm very proud of it. We do it for the Dino, we do it for the G, and we have a great group of kids that I'm proud of, and a great group of coaches. We actually got one of the Riverside guys that's usually over there playing against Coach Mush, Coach Martinez, is on the staff now. Kenny Lawler, Coach Mike Clark. Of course, Gary Headland. We've got a couple players of mine, Cordell Brewster, and who's also Sanji. So we have 4 Sanji alumni: Cordell Brewster, Montre Moore, Rubio, and Ryan Whitmore. So we've got a good mix of experience and some young guys that bring the energy. Coach Carter, who's our towel waving, gonna bite your kneecaps off D-line coach. It's a great group, and our silent warrior, Coach Martin. We call him Uncle Mike at the Q because he's always wearing a do-rag and has the shirt with the barbecue stains on it all the time. But it's a great group of guys to work with.
Well,
to work with guys that are alumni and to work at my alma mater is the best.
Well,
and it's almost as great as a box of kimchi.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm still waiting for that phone call from Ramona to hire me as their head basketball coach, but it never happened, so I'll stay here on Riverside TV calling some football. Chris Chaddock, great for joining us, and good luck to you Friday. Not too much good luck, but good luck none the same. You're a dear friend and great friend of the show. I love you, buddy, and we're looking forward to seeing you Friday night versus the Rams of Ramona.
Love you too, boss. Thanks for doing all you do. Tell the kids and wife hello. Keep doing great work.
Well, he is Chris Chaddock, and he is the head coach of San Gorgonio High School, the Spartans. We will see them Friday night on Riverside TV. When we come back, we'll have the head coach of Ramona High School, Ken Mashinsky, right after this. All right, we're back here on the playoff version of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV, and we are now joined by my all-time favorite coach. I like Chris Chaddock over at Sanjee. I kind of like Ken Batdorf over at Norte Vista, but this guy right here is my favorite. He is the head coach of my alma mater. Go Rams! Ken Mashinsky, how are you, buddy?
Good, brother. Good. Hey, thanks for having me on here today. I appreciate it.
Well, Coach, it's another year, and you got in by the skin of your teeth. You lose 18 players, starters last year, 27 players from your roster. How do you keep doing it every year, Coach?
Oh, you know what? We just keep grinding away. We're real thankful that we made it this year. You know, we had some ups and downs and ended up, 500 at 5-5. Some good wins and some bad losses. But we're putting all that behind us. It's a new season. Everyone's 0-0 right now. So we're fortunate. We got a home game, and we're playing Sanjee, which is a very storied program. They have a lot of CIF championships, and there's a lot of. It's going to be a good game. I'm really excited for it.
Well, I don't know if I had any say in this, but Mike West, the commissioner of the CIF, is a good friend of mine. And I said, hey, I need 2 or 3 games here in Riverside, and one of them better be Ramona High School. And what happens? You get a home game against a first-place Sanjee team who comes in 9-1. What are your initial thoughts of Chris Chaddock and the Spartans of Sanjee?
Well, Chris is a great guy. He's a great up-and-coming young coach. He did some super stuff before at his previous place, but now he's at his alma mater. He's at Sanjee, and Sanjee. I mean, I know a lot about Sanjee. My players don't know much, but Sanjee has some CIF championships in their back pocket in recent memory, and they have some dudes over there. Always. Their running back is a big dude. He plays outside linebacker. Their quarterback's a big guy, and then they have some speedsters in 2 and 4. And if anybody knows anything about track and field, they know that Sanjee has some speed over there, and some of those guys play football. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think that it's going to be a great game, and we're really looking forward to it.
Now, is there anybody in the River Valley League that plays similar to Sanjee that we can kind of gauge it off of?
I would say Hillcrest is the best gauge, because I think Sanjee and us are very similar offense. Defensively, we're a little bit different. He runs a 30 and blitzes a whole bunch, whereas we don't blitz as much. But offensively, definitely Hillcrest, Ramona, and Sanjee are all pretty similar. We're all pretty balanced. We like to run the ball. We like to throw the ball. Colton was another one that we watched a lot of that they're kind of similar to them. So it's going to be a great game.
Well, Coach, I love the Rams, and I try to give you as many games as I can during the season. I love being over there. I love seeing everybody. But you have a pretty talented young quarterback who took over for your son this year. I think Acosta might be the most versatile, mobile, throwing quarterback on the run of anybody in the city. How's he feeling? I mean, is he excited to get his first chance to start in a CIF game?
Oh, yeah. Jeremiah Acosta is a great kid. He's a super talented baseball player, and that's definitely his passion. But he came in last year and kind of helped our JV when our JV quarterback got hurt, and fortunately came in this year and took over the varsity starting quarterback job. And the great thing about Jeremiah is he just keeps getting better every single solitary game. And, he's had 10 weeks to prepare for this moment. And he is ready. The kids are excited and they're ready to rally behind him. And I'm looking forward to see what he could do. He could throw the ball well. He runs well. And now he's becoming a more of a quarterback and a leader. So it's just all good things. So we're really excited to watch him play Friday night.
Well, everybody talks about the playmakers, Jake Valenzuela, Acosta, Sincere Tolbert. But you have some big boys up front that are pretty young, and they're pretty talented up front, aren't you?
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of the the question mark is I think that we're a little bit bigger than Sanji up front. I think that we're going to be able to, use our size to our advantage. But, Andy Martinez is over there as defensive coordinator, and it's not like he doesn't know what we do. I mean, we've been battling each other for years, and that's what makes this game so intriguing. Is Chaddock's a great guy. Martinez is over there. Headland and I have battled in the past. He's over there. Kenny Lawler's over there, who I coached with at Valley College. So it's a lot of fun stuff. But, the offensive line and their defensive line, I think that's the big question mark. They're very fast up front. They like to blitz a lot. They like to do a lot of cross blitzing and things like that. So I think that we'll be able to, in terms of size, handle it. But in terms of scheme and in terms of their speed, that's gonna be the question mark. We're going to work real hard this week on communicating and identifying those guys so we can take care of it on Friday night.
Now, Coach, your streak. What is the streak now for Ramona High School making the playoffs?
Well, COVID year, nobody made the playoffs.
Yeah, we don't count that one.
Right. Yeah, this is my 7th year at Ramona, and we've made playoffs every year. So, yeah, 7 years.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you what. There's Martin Luther King is going to play in their second playoff appearance, but you're the last guy to win 2 back-to-back games at King. Let's see if our boy Jason McMains can do that over there. Before we let you go, let's talk a little bit about the River Valley League. I know you have some guys that are your friends. What do you think about Norte Vista? What do you think about Hillcrest and Patriot? How do you think the River Valley League will do this week?
So, well, first, just in our division, I think it's great. Riverside Poly, I know Poly's not in the River Valley League, but Poly made it, Hillcrest made it, Patriot made it, and Ramona made it. So 4 Riverside schools, all with talented guys and great coaching staffs. That in itself is fun. The fact that Novi had a tough draw. I think that they thought that they were going to be kind of at the top of Division 5. And have a home game, and they moved them to the bottom of Division 4, and they have to travel to Loyola, and we know Loyola's a loaded team. They always are. It's going to be a tough task for Coach Boutdorf and Norte Vista, but I was talking to Coach the other day or texting, and Loyola hasn't really seen that offense, that type of offense. So it's hard to prepare. The week before Norte Vista, it's just very, very difficult to prepare for them because our guys are not used to running a double wing offense or such a power offense. And I don't know if Loyola is either. Loyola will definitely have some dudes, but Norte Vista has some dudes too. And I would never, ever count out Coach Boutdorf and those guys. I know that he's a little bit disappointed, but it's CIF and, everyone's playing for the same thing. Everybody's good. And I wish, him and everybody in Riverside the best of luck this week. Coach McMains, coach over at Poly. I've only met him one time. He's a great guy. And then obviously Travis and Chris Fowler over at Patriot and Hillcrest. It's exciting to have a bunch of Riverside guys in playoffs, and hopefully we all win and move on. It's just a great thing for the community and for the schools itself. So.
Well, Coach, I'm always picking the Rams to win. Horns up.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Don't
hurt my friend Chris Chaddock too bad because I still have to be friends with him after Friday night.
No, they're fine. They got some dudes over there. It's going to be a battle. We're really excited, and we're excited for you guys to be there and taking care of us and putting us out there on TV. We appreciate it a lot. You and Gasol do a fantastic job. And Pep, when I see him, I haven't seen him for a while, but you guys do a great job, and we as coaches really appreciate you guys.
All right, that will do it for another edition of the Coach's Perspective here on Riverside TV. We will see you Friday night. We have a doubleheader as King is going to play Lakewood and Ramona versus Sanji live at 7 p.m. here on Riverside TV.